If you missed Tuesday night's Race Chat Live, the crew released their power rankings. Listen in and tell me what you think.
So we're coming into power rankings time, and I really believe that this power ranking this time probably looks nothing like what it was last time.
And I did save that.
Yeah, I mean, there has to be some major changes here, some major shakeups. First of all, one of the first things that I want to see out of this is I want to see RFK moved up a couple of spots here, right? Because they definitely deserve to be higher up on the charts. Now, there's tough competition when you're racing those class of owners, car owners that were racing in that tight little bubble there. Of course, the top three teams are probably going to be similar to the same top three teams. I think that Craig would have argued Trackhouse should be at that top three level. I no longer consider them a top three team. I don't know if I was considering them a top three team at that time. I have not seen Taz Taylor's power rankings, and I'm very interested to know where he has ranked these. And I think that if we see anything that we feel like we don't really believe is correct, kind of where the arguments and discussions will come from as we process to our fan base here. So as I turn it over to you, Mr. Taz Taylor, first of all, thank you for taking the time to do this, right? I mean, it's something. There's one thing that I've noticed from this group is there's certain things that all of you guys have picked up on, and you do it really good. And this is one of those things where you've taken something in your own hands, Taz, and you did that with the hot pick, and you've run with it. And let me tell you something: for content creators, you are there. You understand what it takes to make something enjoyable. It takes a little bit more time to do, and it's a little bit more process than just throwing stuff out there and talking about it. And with that, I commend you, and I appreciate the value that you bring to this show by doing little skits and stuff like this. So without further ado, Taz Taylor, let's get to the Tasmanian Power Rankings.
All right. So from the last power ranking, which is all the way back in January, how we did it, Chris, was we did 4 teams in the proven winners category, and we took 4 teams in the most likely category. Everyone else was in the highly questionable. Now, my power rankings may not be what you guys might agree with, but my power rankings are essentially kind of based off how is that team performing on the full-time basis, meaning when you look at the owner standings, how are they performing as a whole together? So like Gibbs, you have 4 full-time teams. How are they doing as a whole? Trackhouse, 2-car team. I'm not counting that Project 91 car that they got.
Right.
2311 is the same deal. I'm looking at the 23 and the 45. I don't care about the 67. So I'm looking at the full-time cars. So looking at the average rank, I should say, number 1 on that list is Joe Gibbs. And we had Joe Gibbs as a proven winner. They haven't moved anywhere. Gibbs in the owner standings, not the driver, the owner standings, has right now in the owner standings, they are 5, 6, and 7, and then 19th. Obviously, 19th is the Ty Gibbs 54. Now, of course, the other 3 are Hamlin, Bell, and Truex. Next in line, there are 2 teams with a 10.5 ranking. We had this team in the proven winners category. Unfortunately, no wins yet this year. That's the 2-car tandem of Trackhouse Racing.
Overrated.
Ross Chastain, obviously, the 1-car leads the not only drivers but the owner standings. And then Daniel Suarez and the 99 team are sitting at 20th. Now, if you want to keep going with the top 4 that I have, we had this team as a highly questionable team. And, Chris, you should know where I'm going with this one because you mentioned them and you wanted them to move up. Well, they moved up big time because they also have a 10.5 ranking. The 6 car sits 9th in the owner standings, and the 17 car sits 12th in the owner standings. That's
Wow.
right, RFK.
Wow.
Now, you may not think they're proven winners, and if you want to look at wins category, they're not right there. I would say they're in the contenders part of it. But if you just look at overall performance as a team, they're really starting to knock on the door. Quietly, but they're coming. And, of course, the other team that sits in the top 4, we had them as proven winners, and it should be no surprise, is Hendrick Motorsports. They're sitting at an 11.3, 3rd, 11th, 15th, and 16th is where they sit in the owner standings. And I believe them sitting at number 4 right now kind of makes sense because you had the Chase Elliott injury that hurt them. Yes, Josh Berry did well at that time, but in a sense, they kind of they had to hurt team morale in some sort of way, right? Or throw team routines off. Bowman, same deal. You had that happen. Then you had the penalties that were involved, regardless if they got overturned or not. And then now you have the most recent penalty announced for Chase Elliott, suspended for a week. So I feel like penalties and injuries are hurting Hendrick this year as an organization.
Good eye on that, Taz. Way to point that out. Hendrick, we want to put them based off the wins of where they are categorically, but they're actually further behind this year, and a lot of that has to do with consistency amongst their drivers because some of them have been out for so long. So, it's definitely not easy on a team. I mean, you add in Josh Berry's stats, and, I mean, they're pretty good, but considering the caliber of drivers that were in those seats, you expected better finishes, I guess, from them. So, in a way, Hendrick has lost at least a couple of points based off of the fill-ins that they've had because of unforeseen circumstances. My real question here, of course, would have to be where Penske would land on this graph and why they would not be considered one of the top 3 teams in the Cup Garage based off of first of all consistency, and second of all, I mean, it's Roger Penske for crying out loud. I mean, that's it's kind of hard to leave. I mean, I understand Ford has had their issues this year, but is this a Ford issue or is this a lack of competition? I mean, if Penske is not in the top 3, then where is Penske?
All right, so we have Gibbs at number 1, Trackhouse and RFK tied for 2 and 3, Hendrick at 4. So if we go down to 5, if we go off of our last power ranking, those 4 would be in the proven winners part. So the next part would be the most likely. 2311's in that category, and that's the first team. They're at number 5 that I have them. 8th and 17th right now in the owner standings. They have a little room to work with to move up. But being that they started off a little weak, but still being right there, I think that's still a good point for them right now. Penske, on the other hand, that's my next team on the list, sitting with a 12.7. And here's why I got them a little low, and I believe RFK needs to be high. And this is why I think RFK is higher than them, in my perspective.
You're making me smile here because RFK means Roush Racing is back to the head stable of the Ford camp, and I love that idea. Taz Taylor, you sell it to me. Why is RFK better than Penske right now?
So, owner standings, as I mentioned earlier, RFK sitting 9th and 12th, only has one car out of 3 of them sitting above both RFK cars, and that's the Ryan Blaney number 12 machine. That team is sitting second in the owner's points. And you sit here question yourself, well, where's the 22? Where's the 2? Well, the 22 team sits 14th in the owner's standings, which is underneath Chris Buescher in 12th. And Cindric in the number 2 cars, they're 22nd. So I feel like Logano's struggles this year is hurting the team as a whole, and Cindric is just obviously not there.
Miss Lee, do you see how our previous subject of the 2-car team has now made its way into power rankings? Can you believe this, Miss Lee? Like, literally, RFK is a stronger organization as a whole in power rankings because they are only a 2-car team, which means they are not carrying the baggage of a 3-car team. Now, with that being said, Miss Lee, I know you're going to go for this one, right? Where does that leave Ricky Stenhouse?
Well, if Ricky had better equipment, maybe. I don't know.
He's had some top. Hey, Ricky has had a better year this year statistically than I believe his last year at Roush Racing. I don't have the stats in front of me, but I believe statistically right now, even outside the Daytona 500 win, he has consistently been better this year than what we've seen from Ricky since probably 2015 or before.
Well, it's funny you mentioned Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and the JTG team because you don't know who's next in line on the power rankings? It's JTG.
It's almost like I read his mind.
Now, we have to do a comparison in this because in this I haven't even mentioned the 4th team in this category. Last time we had 2311 RCR Legacy Motor Club. There's only one team I've mentioned so far from the last power ranking to this one. That's 2311. Penske went from proven winners down to the most likely category. So, and the number 8 spot, Stewart-Haas Racing, and they have a 19.5 average owner standing. 4th, 18th, 27th, and 29th.
Wow.
And I had no choice but to put JTG over SHR because JTG, their 1-car team, sits higher than 3 SHR cars.
Who's in the 29th? Is that Eric Amarola or is that Ryan Preece?
That's Preece.
Oh, wow. And Cole Custer probably did a better job. Wow. But, I mean, Preece has been fast in certain times, but when you compare the two, it wasn't Cole Custer. It was the car. And that really is concerning about where Stewart-Haas is right now. That they've got to get in funding. I believe we are seeing the unraveling of that race team, and it's unfortunate. Because, Taz Taylor, I know since you've been here, Stewart-Haas was in our top 3. They were the powerhouse of the ranking.
Oh, God. Yeah, I remember. Oh, definitely. Especially when the Gen 6 first came in. When the Gen 6 car first came in, and when the Ford Fusion and the Chevy Monte Carlos basically left, and we had the Camaros and the Mustangs, Ford responded better than Chevy did.
Right. Yeah, there was the year that Kevin Harvick and Denny Hamlin won all the races.
Yeah.
Yes, that was COVID years. Wow. 2020, such a long time ago, right? Holy hell! Do y'all still see people wearing masks? Do they not scare you? Like, do you not start asking yourself, are they sick? Dude, did you not get the memo? That shit was over a long time ago. Still kind of scary, man. Still kind of scary.
I see it every day.
We are, as a society, we will be studying the effects of the COVID-19 virus on our on our daily lives, how it affected our daily lives. We'll be studying that for the next 30 years. As a matter of fact, right now there's kids that are in high school. They're going to graduate, and that's going to be their study that they start, in college, and we won't even know all the results of the impacts for many years later. One day they're going to come out with a commercial that says, "If COVID-19 hurts you, please call this number," right? And I think we've all been affected by COVID-19, so I think we would have COVID-19. But anyway, so we're finally to the point to where I didn't even have to do that voice anymore to call it that. That's how far away 2020 was. All right, so that was number 8 on the power rankings of SHR. Is there anybody there that's kind of surprising outside of the RFK? Of course, we kind of had expectations for 2311. I believe Trackhouse is a little bit off expectations. We are still looking at Suarez as a 16th to 20th place driver. Ross Chastain has had a couple of incidents that have kept him out of victory lane. I don't think as the Watermelon Man won this year. I don't think so. I really think I don't ever think he's actually won a 1.5-mile race before, has he? It seems like he's only won a super speedway race and maybe a road course. So I'm
I think those were his
Trackhouse is way overrated. But I've been optimistic about them. So, I understand not everybody's going to see things from my point of view. And you said that they were sharing that second spot with somebody. Who are they sharing it with?
RFK.
They're sharing it with RFK. That's the number 2 team in the house. Wow. And as I said before, if you're a 4-car team, somebody's in the gutter, right? You're carrying some team in the gutter. These 2-car teams seem to be pretty operational. One of the things that I think I'm most concerned about is Legacy Motorsports. I don't know, or Legacy Motor Club. I'm sorry. I think they've been kicked out of Chevy meetings, and there's no more resources going to them. I think this is what is it called? A dead mule year, a dead duck. What is it called? A dead duck season or whatever it's called. They're just there.
Season.
Yeah, they're just there, and it was absolutely horrible to watch the struggles that Jimmy Johnson went through. I'm really questioning whether or not Jimmy should be behind the wheel, not because that he can't perform, but man, this is not how we want to remember you. Similar to the way Bill Elliott and Terry Labonte went out the door, Bobby Labonte even. These are, Bobby Labonte went from he was at Joe Gibbs, y'all, and then went to Petty. Like, that's, oh my gosh, talk about falling off the turnip truck real fast. That's we don't want to see that from Jimmy. He's forever etched in my mind as a 7-time champion and a guy that I couldn't stand because he stunk up the show every weekend. So definitely not seeing him at that level is almost heartbreaking. Anything else? Where's the Wood Brothers at? Are they even on this map? And Colleague Racing. I believe Colleague Racing deserves a big F right now because I expected a whole lot from A.J. Allmendinger and Justin Haley. I thought that those were going to be the combination. Justin Haley had a whole year to improve, and I just feel like the organization actually took a step backwards.
All right,
yeah,
so
I don't know. I don't know that Colleagues' foray into Cup was worth it.
So we had, so the movers from last time, back in January to now, obviously Penske, we had them as a top proven winner. Now they're basically a top most likely team because of lack of consistency. RFK went from highly questionable to basically knocking on the door proven winner because, they're right up there consistency-wise. Like I said, they haven't won any races, but they're knocking on the door quietly, but they're right there. We can't count them out as much. We can sit there and say, well, they're not running for race wins all the time. No, but they're right there with the top 5s and top 10s week in, week out. You can't ignore it. SHR, still in the most likely category, not as high as they were, but they're still there. JTG went from a mid, highly questionable team to now they're in the most likely category, so there's a mover. There was 2 teams we had in the most likely category. Now, we haven't even put in the top 8 yet. And I'm going to go right here at number 9, and that's RCR. Kyle Busch is carrying the stable, but Rhinestone Cowboy is not roping the wheel very well. He doesn't have the bull by the horns.
And even Kyle's not doing all that great.
RCR. Yeah. Whoa. Wait a minute. Where is RCR?
Number 9 in the ranking.
Oh, man. Are we not? I mean, Kyle Busch has 2 wins.
Oh, understanding. Kyle Busch, number 10. Rhinestone Cowboy, 31.
Serious? Austin Dillon is that crappy this year?
Well, I mean,
You
they
haven't
did
noticed that yet?
They did get hit with a big penalty on the Rhinestone Cowboy team a couple weeks ago that they lost the appeal to.
Yeah. That was like a 50-point penalty, wasn't it? Wow. I didn't expect Austin Dillon to be that far back. I didn't know that they were that far off pace. And you just kind of wonder if Paul Lee putting the whole farm into that 8 card, because if they were a 1 card team, I believe you would probably classify RCR at a lot higher level than where we have them at today. They've been more successful on paper as an organization than Trackhouse has, not based off of points. That's kind of where the discrepancy starts to come in. But all in all, you can see what teams are struggling at the moment as an entirety. I believe we could say that dropping like a rock in the sea would be Stewart-Haas Racing. I thought with the addition of Priest, I thought with the 3rd year of Briscoe, and Harvick's couple of wins that he got last year, I really thought Stewart-Haas was moving in the right direction. I've never been confident in AA battery. He's always been the Walmart brand battery versus Duracell.
Yeah, but Stewart-Haas had a crappy year last year, and from their performance this year, they're not getting any better.
No, they're not.
I mean, if anything's improved, Harvick's gotten more consistent compared from last year to this year, but that's the only improvement they've got.
Yeah, it makes you wonder how far off the map Ford really is, and how much hard work an organization like RFK is really putting in to separate themselves by such leaps and bounds from the other Ford teams. And it's not just the RFK team. It's almost like Front Row Motorsports has been in tow this entire time as well. Where do they sit ranking, Taz Taylor, Front Row Motorsports? Because I believe Todd Gillian and Michael McDowell both had pretty solid years considering the organization. It's a lot better than Legacy.
They are sitting with a 24 average owners points ranking. They are currently in the power rankings, number 10.
Oh, wow. Oh, good job. Good job, Front Row Motorsports. Like I said, it kind of feels like RFK and Front Row Motorsports are maybe working on this together. I've always considered Front Row Motorsports
if you want to look further, if you want to quickly look further down, so I'll recap quick the top 10. So Gibbs number 1 with a 9.3. Tied for 2nd and 3rd is Trackhouse and RFK with a 10.5. Hendrick rounds out the top 4 with a 11.3. 2311 in 5th with a 12.5. Penske in 6th with a 12.7. JTG in the 7th spot, 13.0. And number 8 is Stuart Haas with a 19.5. RCR in number 9 with a 20.5. Front Row Motorsports rounds out the top 10 with a 24.0. Behind them in 11th with a 25.0 is Colleague. Then it's Spire in number 12 with a 28.0. Wood Bros sits behind them with a 30.0. And now we get to Legacy Motor Club with a 30.5. Then it's Rick Ware with a 33.0. And then BJ McLeod while bringing up the tailgate of the field. How's it going back there?
Yeah, it's it's beyond disappointing to see that team every week. I know BJ brings the best that he can, but literally he's there waiting on somebody to pay him $13 million to go spend his money down at the Xfinity Series or something. I'm not sure how much longer this team's going to be able to hang on. There's no telling what BJ's had to sell to keep things going because it is a race against time. And whether or not NASCAR actually just comes in and pulls their charter is we haven't seen that yet. And that's what they're struggling for in these owner negotiations with the RTA is to make sure that NASCAR can't come in and just strip you of your charter. And at the same time, we don't want to see teams become starting parks as they have beforehand. And that's what will happen because no team wants to be that 30th place machine. They don't want to be that 34th place car. And if it's profitable for them to have to do that, in other words, if they have to do that, then they're going to find a way that's the most profitable to do it. And that's a start and park situation. If NASCAR can't just pull your charter at any time that they want to because of performance, then that's going to be a situation where you'll have the owners taking advantage of that rule that NASCAR can't take their charter. So I can see both ends of that.